If you look closely, you're going to see that we have a perfect fold. You remember those superficial layers folding? To the left now, the sedimentary layers are completely vertical. Keep an eye on the path. Next time you say it's too hard to go to school, remember this.
Pardon? Can I record your voice?
Okay, sure. Is everyone in already? Yes? Now, how are you feeling? It's okay? I hope so, because it's only going to get worse. Now, if you look up, you'll see we have what looks like a clean cut. Okay, that's the oldest part of the canyon. And if you look below us, instead of a clean cut, we have holes. Those are called giant kettles, and they form because rocks fall here. When the rocks are big, they usually cannot move. The river, what it does is makes them spin in the same place, and when they spin, they grind on the sides of the mountains. Those are old ones. The newer ones still forming below the water as the river passes. Now guys, you hear right, rocks fall here all the time. But don't worry, we check for the big ones. Small ones though, we cannot control. That's why you're wearing helmets today. There are certain areas with orange markings. These tell us where there are higher chances of rocks falling. Now, don't worry, rock falling on your head today will be like winning the lottery, okay? It's highly unlikely, but it's not impossible. If you don't want to win the lottery today, please don't buy any tickets, okay? As soon as you see these orange markings, don't stop. The longer you're in one place, the higher the chances of getting hit by a rock. Also, I've noticed that when I said getting hit by a rock, a lot of you look up. Guys, helmet only works when it's on top of your head. If you're looking up, whatever falls, it's gonna hit you in your face. Every now and then we'll see these birds. They are pigeons. Pigeons that live in the cracks of the rocks. So these, of course, are rock pigeons. Now from this point forward, if you look to the left, you're going to start noticing there is a pattern on the wall. We have some parallel lines here. Those are sedimentary layers. Sediments piled up at the bottom of the ocean millions of years ago, and under pressure became stone. In this case, this is mostly limestone. There were also other weaker materials like clay and sand that have disappeared over time. Also, every now and then you'll find these metal structures. That is part of the old power line, of the old path that you have below your feet. You can see in between the cracks of the path. Now the old one, as you can see, is a lot narrower than the one you're walking on today. The one you're walking on was built in 2015. And yes, as you can notice, sometimes the old one disappears. But don't worry, it's only the old one, okay? The new one is always here to hold you. Now here to the left, you see the sedimentary layers even better. Here is mostly they're used by pigeons, but a bit farther up they will be used by common swallows and swifts. And even a bit farther up we have vultures. We'll talk about the vultures a bit later on, when we are at the end of the first canyon. Now here it starts getting wider, and a lot of you are going to be tempted to start taking pictures with your phone over the hand railing. You of course can do that, but remember that anything that falls down there will forever remain down there. That goes for phones, glasses, scarves, bags, husbands, wives, everything. Also remember to keep an eye on the path and mind your head every now and then. In front of us, we have some caves, and those caves match the layout of the sedimentary layers. See, when sediments were piling up at the bottom of the ocean, sometimes those weaker materials clot together in pockets. When these pockets disappeared, they left us caves. We have thousands of these caves, also inside of the mountain, because limestone allows water to flow through, dissolving those weaker materials. In fact, if we could make a cut through the mountain, it looks like a Gruyere cheese full of bubbles. And some of those bubbles were used by our ancestors. In Ardales, you can find the oldest prehistoric paintings in Europe. And here, we have found some tools that belong to our ancestors. We found, for example, sewing needles made of salmon spines. So that means that even though we don't have salmons here today, 7,000 years ago, salmons used to go up this river. Now here we start descending until we match the same altitude as the aqueduct. And from that point forward, we're always going to be about 370 meters above the sea level. These steps, they are part of the original design. They have been restored. They have a silly name and also a purpose. People call these the chocolate steps, because I guess if you're hungry enough, they look a bit like a chocolate bar. But the purpose is a lot smarter. Have anyone here ever used a wheelbarrow? Yes? One of those cars on building sites, yeah, you know? Yeah. If you have, I'm sorry for you. If you haven't, you're very lucky. But you probably don't know that they don't have brakes. So when you're going downhill, they're very hard to control. These steps work as speed bumps, so we control how quick we're going to descend. If we need to go back up, well, it's not easy, but it's definitely easier than going against normal steps. Nowadays, they're a little nicer than going downhill if your knees are not what they used to be. You might have noticed the color of the water. That green is due to microalgae. Water spends a long time at the water reservoir where it's not moving. So microalgae starts building up. Doesn't mean it's dirty. We do have fish here. No longer we have salmons, but we do have barbs and carps. And also animals that fish them, like otters. And otters are usually quite picky where they live off. But if you look here to the aqueduct, you'll probably notice that there is not much water, and whatever it is very clear. It's nothing to do with the one from the river, because these come from inside the mountain. It's leaking through. Now we're going to do a small section of the aqueduct itself, because in 1970, the company that bought these realized that it was too expensive to maintain. So instead they installed a pipe and abandoned this original aqueduct. Guys, some of you are maybe thinking on the bridge at the end. Don't worry about the bridge. Safe. No one has fallen so far from the bridge, at least not this year. But you need to be careful with the steps, okay? Because they're very narrow and everyone trips here every single day. So please use a hand railing. Hasta luego. Stalactites, also there, very prone to be formed in the caves of limestone. Here you have loads of stalactites as well. Now ahead of us we have the railroad. This, guys, is the oldest railroad in Andalusia, and it still works today. Now why we will build a railroad going through here? Well, 200 years ago, the Industrial Revolution, Malaga was a pioneer in Spain. We built the first iron factories in Spain. We did have a lot of iron, we had the money to invest, we have a big port to export it. What we didn't have was coal. No coal, no fuel. We needed fuel. We found some in Cordoba on the other side of these mountains. The only problem was to get to the other side of these mountains. Going through kilometers of rock at the time was a crazy idea. No dynamite, it hasn't been invented yet. There is only gunpowder, pickaxes and shovels. Instead, they decided to follow the river. You follow the river, you have all the valleys, so you don't have to make a big, massive tunnel. But it's going to be a longer railroad. Talking about 200 kilometers of railroad, 18 tunnels and 14 bridges. Now guys, how long do you think it will take to build? Not all at the same time.
400.
400 what?
Days.
Days. That's a year and a month.
Oh, yeah.
That's very optimistic.
400 years.
No, that will be still, people going at it. Now, they started in 1860 and they finished in 1865, okay? It took only 5 years. Now, if you look at the high-speed train that we built in the year 2000 to connect Malaga and Cordoba, we're talking about double that time, okay? 200 years later. So it's not the tools, it's how you use them. Now here we have some water coming from the aqueducts, from the mountains, but also we do have some fish. Those are Andalusian barbs. Now, if the water is clearly not coming from the river, how is it possible that we have fish living here? Well, the answer is easy. They arrived here flying, okay? Not with EasyJet or Ryanair. No, fish laid their eggs in the river. Birds went to the river and got eggs stuck to the feathers. And when they use this water, they drop again the eggs. Apparently, the only ones that survive are the Andalusian barbs. They're doing well, they're thriving, but they also have their predators here. If you happen to see something moving around that looks a bit like a snake, please don't scream. It is a snake, but you are in Malaga, Spain, not Australia, so you'll survive. Now guys, if you look from here to the structure of the railroad, you'll notice that there is a cut. And if you follow out the cut to the mountain, you'll see that there is a section of the mountain missing. In 1907, that section fell on the railroad. You can still see rails from 1907 on top of that small stone wall behind the 2 eucalyptus. Now it's time to talk about the man who designed all these, Rafael Benjumea Iburin, man with a dream. He was born in Seville, 1876, came from a wealthy family, so he could afford to go to university at the time. He went to study in Madrid, civil engineering, and he came back here to the south and decided to build the first hydroelectric power plant in southern Spain, here in Malaga, not in Seville. Why? Well, 3 reasons. Reason number 1, Malaga is a lot better than Seville, okay? Next time you go to Seville, you make sure you tell to everyone you meet.
Why?
Because Malaga is better, the beer is better, the women are better, we do have sea, they don't. So it's good. Also, something that Benjumea knew, we have mountains, they don't. Rivers are going to descend the mountains, and we use the speed of the water to generate electricity. If you're living on flat land, that's a lot harder to do. Reason number 3 was a woman. Okay, there's always a woman.
The biggest reason.
Yeah, probably yes. She was called Isabel Lorin and Heredia. She was not only a beautiful woman, she was also very, 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 very very rich, okay? A lot more than he was. Now, I'm not saying that was out of interest, but there was definitely more than love. Now, I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes so you can take some nice pictures. If you're quick enough, you might look like you are alone here with the railroad, the tunnel, the river, and the footpath all together. Come on in, guys. Some people are just looking at branches right now. If you look down there, you can see the rails I was mentioning before from 1907. Now, he didn't have the money to do this whole thing to impress the family. That's why he had to start small to show everyone that he knew what he was doing. He built one single small dam with 2 turbines that he finished by 1901. It was so successful that he not only finally managed to get investors, he also managed to get allowed to get married with Isabel just 6 months afterwards, which was really good. That opened a lot of doors for him. Thanks to that, in 1904, thanks to the new contacts, his family-in-law, he started a new company. That company got some money from the government, around 50% of the budget. An extra 40 was lent to them. There was 10% missing that was given by his new mother-in-law. That's why it's very important who you marry to. And in 1904 they started here to use the railroad to bring materials. Now guys, this is the cliff of Palomares. Palomares means pigeon nest. We have pigeons that build a nest here, so the pigeon nest cliff. And the bridge is the bridge of Palomares, the bridge of the pigeon nest. Today you're doing an official guided tour, okay? So we get to cross, take some nice pictures and come back. You have some carabiners, okay? Just like this one, they were given to you with the helmets. We're gonna use those, we're gonna tie ourselves to the wire, cross to the other side, take some nice pictures, and then we come back. Sounds good? Please get your carabiners out so I can tie you. You don't know? Not again.
We don't have carabiners. Nobody gave us, man.
Well, you have a backpack, so we use that. I'll tell you with a backpack. Your friend has one too. If you don't have a backpack, just give a hug to someone that has one, and we cross to the other side. It's no mandatory. Just raise your hands if you want to cross. You want to cross, guys? Raise your hands. So it's 4 guys and 1 girl. That's why usually men will live less than women on average, because we don't have very smart ideas. Now guys, we're not crossing this bridge. Just want to check if you still have a pulse. No, sorry man.
All right.
Now from here, you can look at the old path. Instead of beams, they use rails coming from the old railroad. Okay, bricks and concrete on top. And here guys, you have an example of the old hand railing. That was the original one along the path. As you can see, it's not very safe. You can go over it. But you have to remember that it was 100 years ago, so Spanish people used to be shorter. It kind of balances out. You forget everything I tell you. 21st of May of 1921, Alfonso XIII, King of Spain, comes here for the big inauguration. Now he came from Cordoba. He stopped on the other side of the mountains. Then he did a bit of boating on the lake. Then after that, he set the last stone on the dam. So technically the king finished the dam. And then after that, Rafael Benjumea wanted to show this to the king. Now he wasn't too thrilled about it. Of course, a beautiful path, but he was very tired. So he said, Rafa, listen, you did well. I'm going to name you the Count of the Guadalhorce River, this river that we have here. But I had people waiting for me. So they called the train. He crossed this bridge, hopped on the train, and went to Pizarra, nearby town, to have lunch. Yes, guys, this is the King's Path. but he only reached about 700 meters. Now you are peasants, just like me, so you get to walk the whole thing. The bridge. Well, the bridge is no longer the Pigeon Nest Bridge. Now it's the King's Bridge because it crossed it once. But I know what you're wondering, okay? You're saying these guys talking about man who designed this, talking about the King's visit. But I want to know how many people died building this, because you know, it's what everyone thinks. You go to the pyramids and you think, wow, this was probably a lot of people died building this. So you're looking down here and you're thinking about how many people probably died here. A lot of people in Spain actually believe that this was built by prisoners, because you know, it was dangerous. If they died, they died. You just bring more. So, what do you think? How many people you think died building this? Give me a number. We're not betting money yet. 20?
14.
14. 1-4. Very specific. And 100. Now we're getting bloodthirsty. You see? Well, 2 people died here. Yeah.
Only 2.
Only 2. You seem disappointed. Well, only 2 because they, of course, didn't hire prisoners, guys. That would be wrong. They hired.
How many people was building at once?
As you can tell, there were probably not many records, not many contracts. I'm not going to say they pay a lot of tax at the time. But guys, we do know that there were only 2 recorded accidents and none of them were from falling from here. Okay? Because they hire sailors, and sailors are used to be working on the rigging of the ships, being tied high up. They're experts on all kind of knots. That's why no one fell from here. 2 people died. 1 is related to an accident with the train. 2nd one is related to an explosion. Explosion of the explosive storage. How did that happen? Well, we don't know for certain. Still, 2 people in 16 years, that's not too bad. You see the stadiums in Saudi Arabia. Now, we are about to finish the first section of the footpath. We're entering a valley. Okay, come a bit closer, guys. Now, use this space here so you don't block the stairs. Now we're gonna continue walking, following this trail until we get to that mountain at the very end, the one that looks like a wall. And there we have the next section of platforms and the bridge that you're waiting to cross. Now this river that you have here is the Guadalhorce River. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the rivers in southern Spain are called Guadal something. That is because the Arabs were here for about 700 years and they left us a lot of names. Of course, snakes. There are wild boars, loads of them. Don't worry about wild boars. Even though they can be very dangerous, they can smell us from far away and they don't want to do anything with us.
Too much plastic.
Probably. They usually only come out at dusk and dawn, and they only do that to go eat something and go back to sleep afterwards. Basically, they're just like teenagers. But we might get lucky and see some other animal here. We have here some mountain goats, Spanish ibex. Mountain goats usually live separate from the males. Females and babies will live here, males live up there.
I like that.
Where those high mountains are. That's about 1,200 meters high. Now, the only time of the year that males will come down here is usually December and the first part of January. Not because they like Christmas, but because it's mating season, okay? That means that when they come here, they come in ready to fight other males. They're ready for it. Big horns up to 1 meter long. Usually an average of 80, 85 kilos. Testosterone is running high. They need to prove to the female that they are the right one to mate with. That means that if you happen to see one, you need to keep your distance, okay? Don't try to call it, don't try to feed it, don't try to pet it or take selfies with it. In fact, you should do as I do. Every time I'm walking and hiking somewhere I know there's going to be male goats this time of the year, I always bring people. People that at least have shorter legs than I do. I prefer to bring kids, but you know, now with the Christmas holidays, it's a bit hard to get them. Here we have a filtering section of the aqueduct. So what they will do here is they will decant, so heavier stuff will go to the bottom of the aqueduct, and the water later on will be able to keep flowing. They open it up to leave these ponds here, so the Spanish painted toad can have a place to live. Now you see there is some water flowing there, and there is a sign that says non-drinkable water. There is a reason the sign is there, okay? Listen to it, because if you don't and you drink from here, you're gonna need a toilet. And the next toilet is still 3 kilometers from here. I said don't drink and someone's already trying. Yeah, it's good, it's good. Good to know you're listening. Now guys, we're gonna be very quiet while we pass through here. Because olive oil, to produce olives, you only need about 25, 26 days of rain, so that's basically what we got of rain. You know, Spain is the biggest olive oil producer in the world. We produce up to 45% of the olive oil in the world. And 60% of our olive oil, we will sell it to one single country. Italy. Italy buys 60% of the Spanish olive oil, then they mix it with Italian olive oil. They put an Italian flag on it. And they will call it L'olio l'Italia. Then they sell it at probably 6 times the price. But we don't mind, because we're still selling Spanish olive oil, you know. But guys, next time you buy an Italian olive oil, you know you're just drinking Spanish olive oil with an Italian flag, okay? Now we're going to talk about this big boy here. Anyone knows this tree here? These guys is a carob tree. Anyone know what a carob is? You can start looking, you see that one there is also one, and you can see the carobs on the top. You see the fruits hanging? They look like dry sausages or something like that. We used to call that the chocolate of the poor people. Why? Well, because it's brown, it's sweet. It doesn't taste like chocolate, but usually poor people don't know the difference, okay? Now, that was brought here by the Arabs. That's why it's called carob. It comes from harub. The Arabs brought it here. In Spain, we mostly use it to feed animals, okay? Mostly to goats, pigs, horses love them. It's true that after the Civil War, we used it a lot to eat ourselves, because we didn't have too much to eat. In Portugal, in southern Portugal, they grind it, they make flour, and they will bake cakes and bread. And in Italy, they do like a paste, sort of like a chocolate wannabe, I guess, and liquor, because you know Italians, yeah? Anything you give to them, they will turn it into a drink. It's like a superpower they have. Now, if you want to eat one, you can find them sometimes around here, and they're very good for you guys. Yes, we found out they have a lot of benefits. For example, they prevent the pain of wrinkling on the skin, so have been using cosmetics. They also prevent some types of cancer. Do we have any gluten intolerant here today? No? Not even one? Okay, 2 kilometers, guys. How you feel?
Good.
Good? Yes? Do you like my office?
Nice.
It's a nice office,
Nice
yeah.
view, nice window.
You know, the toilet is not too close, but it's good enough.
Toilet is everywhere, no?
Well, that's true too, yeah. You know, like they say in North Korea, I can't complain.
Is it like helicopter landing spot?
There is a helipad, yeah, there. Yes, exactly. It's to access. You know, we have here a house for rental, an Airbnb. If anyone wants to join me for a bit, they can live here. It's very romantic. It has panoramic ceiling so you can see stars at night. It's a bit rustic, but easy access. Helicopter, railroad just there. There's a swimming pool too.
Underground, yeah, it's just faking. Is it like
It's a palace. No, yeah. it's
underground?
What you see is what you get. There is a swimming pool. It is empty, but there is a bucket, so you feel free to go to the river, pick as much water as you can. Now guys, don't get too... But if you look there, of other kinds started coming here. Does anyone here like climbing? No? Climbing up to bed at night, yeah? That's all. Well guys, this wall here became Disney Wall for climbers all over Europe. Several reasons. Reason number one is that they built a whole path and then abandoned it, so you have easy access to the best parts of the wall. Reason number two, that is limestone, which is easier to grip if you like climbing. And reason number three, we are in Malaga. So today was a cold day. You're never going to see ice there. You can climb all year round. But guys, the thing is, climbing is not very safe. Accidents do tend to happen. And up to 11 people died here. Most of the people who died was not from climbing, but because they used the old path. You know what concrete rust is? No? When you build something with concrete, there is usually a metal structure at the heart of it. If you don't seal the concrete properly, water will leak through and then the metal will rust and expand because it doesn't have enough space. It's going to crack on the structure. So you're walking over it, it looks okay, but you're too heavy for the old path. Most likely you're going to fall through it. At least 8 people died that way. The last big accident happened 1999 when 3 young men from a nearby town used an old cable as a zip line. Yes, that wasn't a very good idea. 3 of them was too much weight, cable broke, and this place got closed. If you were caught coming in or out of here, you will get a fine of 7,000 euros. Now, to make sure no one even tried, it's legal to climb, but it has a catch. You know, everything in Spain has a catch. You cannot use the river to access this because it's part of the hydroelectric power plant. It's very dangerous, so it's illegal, it's controlled. You cannot follow the railroad because it's a live railroad, trains passes through. And you cannot climb over the railroad because you will drop rocks on the... If you look closely, you're going to see that we have a perfect fold. You remember those superficial layers folding? To the left now, the sedimentary layers are completely vertical. This, guys, was the most famous part. This is the highest part. This is also where you're going to take the most pictures. We're going to stop here for a minute because we only allow a certain amount of people to get at the same time inside to not to clog the path, okay? It's also is one of the climbing routes. You can see the anchor points. Now, if you look at that wall, this was 2 days ago.
Climbers, huh?
Yeah, climbers going out there.
And this is the legal way or no?
Ah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're not supposed to get here. The only way they can get here is because they follow the railroad, then they rappel down there and they start climbing down all the way up, and then they exit on the other side. These guys is the harakiri. Here you can start seeing there the first anchor points. And if you have a very good eyesight, you'll find the anchor points that start following up. That was an 8C+. That was the hardest climbing route in Spain at the time. And these guys is the aqueduct and the alternative path that we use when it's too rainy or windy. Here you have the old path from the 1920s. Now remember, the Limas, the family living there, once this was built, instead of using the railroad, they will use the footpath. And that means they used to send their kids through here to go to school. Yes, guys. Kids up to the 60s used to go through here to school. Yeah. Now, if you have kids at home, I suggest you take some pictures. We do have a kid here as well. Keep an eye on the path. Next time you say it's too hard to go to school, remember this. Now guys, phones ready. Wipe the lens.
Tai senasis kelias tik. Čia gerai atrodo. Aš galvoju, kad iš tikrųjų ten dėl to tilčiuko, sako, bus galima užlipti. Jo, žiūrėjau, rankikės kelias. Nusivyliau, netgi sako, ne, jokio.
Čiapim.
Tipo į mokyklą vaikai ėjo čia tokį tako. Per kalną. Buvo aptrumpiniam, supranti, kitą kalno pusę. Tai realiai visai tikiu. Bet mano kelias vis tiek sunkesnis būdavo iš Pavartyčių ir Radviliškio. Oba, kadriuks gers. Nespėjau. Žūrė, tūžė. Tokie įmo, tipo, instagraminį. Važiuoju, eik, seniai. Apsimes, kad esi turtingas influenceris, entreprenieris, kokį nors tokį eiseną entreprenieriaus įjung. Apsimes, kad kažką žinai, ko kiti nežino. Video pasimatytų, kad tu kažkom to geresnis už kitus, žinai, tipo, gali sau leist keliaut, ne va, tipo, va, 4 šaibų, darykit taip, kaip tu darai, žinai, pirkit mano programą.
So, everyone saw the fossil down there? Yes? You too, guys? You see the fossil? No. Don't worry, you cannot go back, but if you walk very slowly, I will show you where is another one. Hasta mañana. Small power plant. This power plant is fed by the pipe it was installed in 1973. The old aqueduct, instead of turning here, used to go farther up, and then we will fall from 98 meters high. You see there is still a pole from the old power lines. But in the 70s they built the new dam, and they made this into a water reservoir. The old power plant was too low and it got flooded. They built this, and there is a second one. That second one is a reversible power plant. If you look to the top of the mountain, you'll notice that it's completely flat. That was because they took off the top of the mountain and built a second water reservoir on the top. And what they do is that when electricity is cheap and they cannot sell it at a good price, they will use that energy to pump water from down here to up there. They keep it there, and then when there is a sudden increase of the demand for electricity, meaning they're going to make a lot more money, they will drop the water once again. They use the same water 2 or 3 times to generate electricity, and then whatever remains, it will be left to go down the river, use for irrigation, and then after that, whatever litter is left will be treated and used as tap water. Once you're past that turn over there, you look left. If you look up, you'll see the old aqueduct, and to your right you'll see the house of Ben Humer, the engineer. But there, just ahead of us, is when we say goodbye. It's going to be very emotional, so I hope you have your tissues at hand. If you need a hug, don't be shy, you can ask for it. Probably someone will volunteer. Okay.
One month ago. If you have the helmet or not helmet, okay? So say goodbye and thank you.
Yeah, here is where we say goodbye.
Has it ever been used in films?
Yes, there's one film, Von Smith Express.
Which one?
Von Smith Express is a Sinatra scene that he's escaping from a German camp during the World War II.
Okay.
It's okay. But good thing about it is that Sinatra was here in the 62 filming it.
Yeah.
And he was so drunk in Malaga town centre that he was detained and spent a night in prison.
We have another artificial lake up there. When we need energy, we just throw the water. When the energy is not expensive.
Jam parveši Aleksiukui dovanų, sakyk, nuo dėdės matai. Sakė, bus išklydėžė kažkaip. Patiko, simgiu tas ausinės. Ne, pačiu visai nėra vėjo. Ne, atidavė radiją jam. Eik. Patiko? Ne, čia. Sakė, apmesti jo.
There is a little bit windy. Maybe we should keep the helmet.
Bet sakytų smagiau, žinai, biškai tos istorijos, kas čia ką čia. Aha.
Is Instagram aí?
Ne.
I'll go down for you guys. I don't know if I will see you again, but
See ya. Hasta luego, man. Good luck.